Well, I think you have to say pretty fun weekend all around if you're a Toronto Blue Jays fan. Let's dive into it. Get the brooms out. The Toronto Blue Jays get the sweep.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. As always, I'm Braden Iwasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Iwasco. Carter First too as well. Our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. If you want to follow us on Twitter or TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Blue Jays, you can follow us there for the reels, the shorts, and whatever else we post. As well on YouTube, you get your shorts, your podcasts, your videos, your live streams, the whole ordeal. So just make sure you guys go and hit that subscribe button. It's free and it really does help us out. So please go and hit that subscribe button. We're trying to grow the channel. We're trying to, put more content out. I actually have a big idea for a video that I'm going to do eventually, not a podcast. It's going to be its own separate video on the Locked On Blue Jays account, but it'll take a bit yet to get in the work. So keep an eye out for that. I'll do an announcement when that video is going to come out. But Carter, I haven't even told you about it actually. So there you go. And even inside look for you. Big weekend, eh? Like that's as good of baseball as we're going to see from this team, I think. Yes, man, it was, we were down in the dumps before this.
Yeah, it kind of pulls you back in a little bit. The Seattle Mariners going into the series, won 9 straight series, really just dominating every single team they played. Obviously, the Blue Jays were a part of that 9-game streak, but come in and just the offense explodes. And it's really all led by Addison Barger. What a weekend from the kid. Never expected a sweep from the Seattle Mariners. I think, both had a series loss because the Seattle Mariners, very good team. Normally, they're known for their pitching, but their offense has been carrying them this last little bit and kind of just shut them down throughout the entire weekend. Cal Raleigh, I think, only had like 1 hit in the entire series. That's not something you usually see as Toronto Blue Jays fans. And just in T-Mobile Park, one of the harder parks to hit home runs, to hit for power in. And the Toronto Blue Jays do it in all 3 games. What a stretch over the last 4 games for this 4-game win streak. Back to 500, but we're gonna have to see if this can be consistent, if this can continue. But yeah, definitely a fun weekend to take advantage and kind of just beat the brakes off the Seattle Mariners in a 3-game series.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't complain. And I guess we'll talk about sort of all the games as we go along here. But I think we got to start in generalities because I was so low on this baseball club, and going into the series, I expected us to get sort of the wheels beat off of us. But then you sort of sent a text and you said like, "Oh, the boys back," into our group chat. And that's the immediate thought that I had. But the other thought that I had when looking at the Seattle Mariners and looking at the Toronto Blue Jays is both teams sort of have the same problem, right? Is that they have very good pitching, very well in the Seattle Mariners case, very good starting pitching. And honestly, their bullpen is okay. And then they just can't get offense some games, and that ends up killing them. And the Toronto Blue Jays are sort of in the same boat where you're just waiting for the offense to get going and heat up. I think that if you look at the Blue Jays offense compared to the Mariners offense, I think overall the Blue Jays should have a better offense, but it's so inconsistent that sometimes it really kills this team. And I don't know, Carter, you're right. Maybe the addition of Addison Barger, maybe that is going to help this team, or it'll be one of those ride the hot hand scenarios until, he starts not playing well, or hopefully he continues. But a cool stat that I did see is that Addison Barger is second in all of baseball for hard hit percentage. He is second to only, take a guess, Shohei Ohtani. So if there's some positives to look for, it's that Addison Barger really is heating up. And not only is he second in the league in hard hit percentage, Carter, but also his expected batting average is actually like 298. So the average isn't looking great. Some of the stats aren't looking great if you just look at sort of the base numbers. But when you dive in a little deeper, you find out that this guy maybe has just been getting a little bit unlucky, and maybe he just needs a couple of games under his belt to really get going. Addison Barger, was sort of in that same situation with like the Davis Schneiders and Ernie Clements over the last couple of years, is that he just wouldn't get consistent playing time. So does that come into effect when you're talking Addison Barger? Do you get more production if he starts to play more? I don't know. So far, yes, but we'll have to sort of see as this Addison Barger saga continues, I guess.
One major difference that I've been noticing between 2024 and the 2025 at bats is Addison Barger just looks like he has a way better perception of the strike zone. Last year, there's especially in these last couple of at bats he had on the Sunday game. There's a couple high pitches, couple low curveballs in the dirt. Addison Barger swinging at that last year. Any sort of competitive pitch that was along the corner, Addison Barger, normally known as a free swinger, would have a fairly high chase rate on some of those borderline pitches. This year, laying off a whole lot of them. And that George Springer at bat just before George Springer hit that 3-run home run. Awesome home run, by the way. Absolutely pimped that baseball. But Addison Barger works a walk, has a very good at bat. Couple borderline pitches again. Would have swung at those in 2024, but does have that patience this year. Works a big walk to get runners on first and second. And then obviously George Springer hits a massive home run. And then you obviously go look at that first game, 3 doubles, just absolutely hammering baseballs. But it's all an approach thing. If you start swinging at pitches that are over the plate in the strike zone, in those hot areas, you're going to be being more productive. And Addison Barger had a great series. Does this type of production carry over? That's going to be the biggest thing. Obviously, playing more often. They are giving Addison Barger more playing time. That's going to help anybody. Kind of see Alan Roden, who went back to AAA. He is raking once again, playing every single day. So having playing time and playing regular times definitely help, especially in these young players that are used to being like, the best players on their baseball teams kind of up until this point. So Addison Barger, again, I'm not sure if this can keep up. We have seen a lot of the highs, a lot of the lows with Barger. But like you said, right, the hot hand, John Schneider threw him in the 3-hole on Sunday's game, and it worked out pretty well, adding a home run, obviously that walk, as I mentioned. But again, doesn't matter if he can't hit in a month. He's hitting right now, so you might as well keep him somewhere in the middle of this order while he is smacking baseballs all over the diamond.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. And that was our biggest complaint with this management group for the longest time, is that they wait too long to make moves, right? And then they do, and the guys aren't hot anymore. And they've sort of blown their chance to, Down Wilden. Sometimes he pops on the podcast. I think he's heard us say ride the hot hand more than anything that has ever been said ever. So it's not that hard to do. If you see a player playing well for a couple game stretch, put them in the lineup, keep them going. And Carter, just a couple more shoutouts, just before we really dive into these games here. Nathan Lucas has been an absolute dog. You got to give that guy a shout out because he didn't start the season very well. He was pegged for us as a guy that was ready to be sent down, and he's turned it up, driving in runs, continuing to pass the baton. He has been an excellent piece for this team. And also Miles Straw's defense. I was a little bit worried because in the first inning of game 3, a ball gets hit in between Miles Straw and Clase as well, and neither of them go for it. But then you see Miles Straw go out and make a diving catch and say, oh, all right, no, I can't get that bad because he makes those plays. So a couple more guys, and I'm sure we'll get into more as we sort of break down the games, Carter. But talk about Nathan Lucas a little bit, just what he's meant to this team over the past little bit here.
Yeah, this is a guy that people wanted DFA'd a couple of weeks ago. Good thing the Toronto Blue Jays did not do that. This is the type of guy that, again, you don't want necessarily these young guys that if they're going to be on the major league team, you want them having regular playing time. You don't want them playing every third day, every second day. Nathan Lucas was that guy that was coming up in these scenarios where, again, wasn't getting the regular, consistent playing time, but was being productive in his chances. And now they are giving him that playing time because he has been so good. Nathan Lucas, again, that home run, obviously, earlier in the series off Luis Castillo, absolutely pimps that baseball again. Nathan Lucas, second home run of the year. And then in the last game of the series, has 3 hits, adds a couple more runs. Just really keeping the line moving and coming up in big scenarios. This entire series, honestly, you mentioned Miles Straw. Ernie Clement had a very good series. We're talking about, obviously, Jonathan Clase having a good series. Addison Barger when he was getting lower in the lineup. All these guys lower in the lineup had very good at-bats. And Nathan Lucas was right in the middle of that. A guy that, again, with the consistent playing time, has a 794 OPS. Again, smaller sample size. But when you're getting this kind of production from the bottom of your order, you are going to be very successful. Over there all in this weekend, not necessarily the big guys that were doing a lot of damage. Obviously, Vladdy had some hits. Bichette did have a home run. But they did it without Anthony Santander. Daulton Varsho didn't play in the third game. You got production from guys you don't necessarily expect to produce on a consistent basis. So these guys, again, doesn't have to be every single game like it was in this series. But with Nathan Lucas kind of leading the charge and all those guys playing complementary baseball, this was, again, very fun series to watch and a great series from Nathan Lucas and others.
Yeah, it really was. It really was a ton of fun. And we're going to dive in right when we come back after this break. We're going to dive into each game so we can give you guys a quick rundown on some of the stuff that went down. And we got to talk a little bit of the injury bug that has now hit the team thanks to, we'll say, a little contusion. So we'll talk about all that and more when we come back right after this short break. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment? It's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And again, it's not just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can check your accounts, your investments, your spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. And I talk about Carter talks about it all the time. It's me purchasing hats or jerseys or anything that has a Toronto Blue Jays logo on it because I have a problem. And so Monarch Money helps me take a look at what I've been spending my money on because it was a problem. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's So, Carter, I guess we'll go back and take a look sort of throughout all the games. But I think we got to talk just before we do that, just a bit of the injury stuff. We could just to let the people know Alejandro Kirk probably going to miss some time. Anthony Santander shouldn't be out that long. But let's start with the Alejandro Kirk piece, Carter. As we were sort of watching the games and I didn't really notice what had happened. And then as he, I think, hit the double, he's rounding the base and something just looked off. I don't know how to even describe it. It felt weird. Like it almost looked like he pulled something, but I didn't really know for sure. And then after he gets pulled from the game, we find out that it was a Julio Rodriguez backswing, sort of gets Kirk in the back with a head contusion. So how long is he going to be out for, Carter? Do you have a timetable on him, or is it sort of up in the air as of right now?
Right now, they're saying it's up in the air. They say there is further evaluation that will happen on Monday, so we'll have a clearer timetable with this Alejandro Kirk injury. But yeah, just the unfortunate play. Obviously, has that catcher style mask, which does help with being protective on the back of the head. So good thing he was wearing that. But Julio Rodriguez, one of those things. Again, swings kind of out of his shoes. The back swing catches Alejandro Kirk kind of on the back of the head. Jose Menestral went out there. And honestly, this happened the second inning, kind of right when it happened. It looked like Kirk was looking through Jose Menestral, not like really at him. Kind of just looked stunned. It definitely rung his bell, obviously. Does hit that double. Like you said, just kind of looked like he was running, like it's hard to describe. Just didn't look like the way Alejandro Kirk normally does run. Yeah. Normally looks pretty very concentrated, like a pretty, honestly, kind of funny look on his face. You can tell he is giving his full effort. Didn't look very comfortable just running around those bases. Did end up scoring, obviously. Not a very good weekend. So it's tough to see Alejandro Kirk go down with this injury. Might be a concussion. They're going to have to obviously do further evaluation. So it was bad enough that they did have to pull him from the game in the fourth inning. Obviously, you don't want to take a risk on head injuries, especially in a game in May. So now there's going to probably be a move if he does hit the IL again. Hopefully, it's not this long thing. It might just be a day-to-day thing. You got to be optimistic about this injury. But yeah, unfortunate occurrence after, especially Alejandro Kirk has had a pretty good stretch recently at the plate.
Yeah, it's tough to see that guy go down. Again, Tyler Heineman has been very good, but it's in short sample sizes, right? When he goes up there, yeah, you can sometimes make a difference, but you want your main guy out there, especially Carter. You talked about how great he's been playing. Alejandro Kirk's defense right now is unbelievable. That throw that he had on the Sunday game to get the runner, and Ernie Clement sort of does the sweep tag. It was right on the money, the perfect spot it had to be. And that's what we've seen from Alejandro Kirk all season. So it's, tough to lose him, especially. I was just going to bring it up, actually, when that happened. I was just going to talk to you about, we might be seeing Alejandro Kirk for Gold Glove pace right now. The way that he has been playing defense this year makes me fully believe that Alejandro Kirk is one of the best defensive catchers in the game right now. And did I think going into the season I'd be saying that? No, we all know that Alejandro Kirk was good, but he would struggle with pop time. This year, he's been getting guys with no problem. Like it is literally like a cakewalk for that guy. So, tough loss for sure, Carter.
Yeah, and with Alejandro Kirk, again, people were struggling with his pop time. People were always saying, oh, very good framer, but can't really throw runners out. It looks like Alejandro's arm strength is a whole lot better this year as well. Actually, I have a stat that I got from the broadcast. Kirk has thrown out 32% of the runners trying to steal on him. That might not seem like a lot, but the major league average is 20%. So he's 12% above that major league average. And again, not necessarily like throwing balls as hard as you possibly can. You're not seeing like the Addison Barger type arm strength, but you're seeing the accuracy on display, like you said, with that Ernie Clement tag. Very good take by Ernie Clement as well. But again, very good throw by Kirk. Just kind of takes his time, makes it a very good, strong throw, obviously, to the plate. And you don't really see Alejandro Kirk have bad throws too often when he's trying to throw runners out. So that's obviously going to help. It's with stealing with the pitching clock. Stealing is getting a whole lot easier, but when you have Alejandro Kirk behind the plate, maybe there is a little bit of a second thought in runners' minds when you're trying to take a base on this guy. But again, just hopefully he is not out for too long because he is so valuable, whether it's on defense. Again, I think a little bit better offensively as well. Was had an average of 280 going into this game. Kind of helped when you go 4 for 4 in a game in this series. But yeah, hopefully it is just a minor thing with Alejandro Kirk. But the secondary one that we both didn't really see at the time. This happened on Thursday, but it's Anthony Santander didn't play a game in this series, did have a shoulder injury. Seems like it is a day-to-day thing. Doesn't seem like he's going to go on the IL. So hopefully with the off day Monday, he will be ready for that Tampa Bay Rays series. And I'm not going to say that the Toronto Blue Jays don't need him, but this weekend, with the guys hitting the bottom of the order, with all these guys kind of playing baseball together and just getting a ton of hits, maybe they can, Santander can, kind of ease back into the schedule, especially with if these hitters can continue having the quality of at-bats they did against this Seattle Mariners team that obviously traditionally has a very good pitching staff.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Again, I don't know what's going to come out of that situation. We haven't really been told a whole lot with some of these injuries. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But, Carter, I think it's time we should probably get into the games. We've taken up 15 minutes of everybody's time, and some people are probably here to get some game recap action. But if you guys have been following us on the Twitter or the YouTube, the TikTok, or the Instagram, you guys will get your game recaps. We do it for most of the games, unless we're sort of out and about after we have to sort of get out. We sometimes don't post them, but for the most part, for the majority of all games, we will have TikToks up and available, and shorts and reels or whatever they're called.
It's also tough, when you're playing games at 8:38 our time, 9:38 your time. We're pretty dead just, recording the podcast. So again, we're going to see the return to 6:07 our time. I love that time for Jay's starting time. And I think I appreciate it a whole lot more, especially after that last week of baseball. Don't mind it for the weekend games, because Saturday night, I just watched it with my friends, at 8:40 start. Didn't mind it at all. But yeah, during the week, a little bit tougher to get into. But I guess I'll take it to get right into the first game. Kind of from you here. I just actually wanted to start in the first inning. Great at-bats by Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., working walks. That's exactly what you want to see, especially when, you have George Springer, who has swinging a hot bat, Addison Barger, who was swinging a hot bat at this time. Well, actually, not at this time. This is kind of where he did activate. But speaking of Addison Barger, just doing a job. This is one of those things. In the first inning, we've seen so many different times. Runners on second, runners on third and second, bases loaded, runners in scoring position, and nobody able to drive them in. Addison Barger has a great at-bat, smacks a double, drives in 2 runs early on in the game. And that's kind of what started the Addison Barger streak that we had this weekend. Unbelievable at-bats in that first inning. And finally, nice to see them actually take advantage and put some runs on the board in that first inning.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've been asking for forever, is timely hitting. I think I don't know how many tweets this weekend that I have put out talking about timely hitting. I've talked about it for the past what feels like a month, Carter, about timely hitting. And finally, we're starting to see some of it happen. And I think it all stems from Addison Barger in that first inning of the first game of this series. It set the table. It set the tone for the Blue Jays to have success moving forward. And you know what? I got to also talk, Carter, about Kevin Gausman's day. Because as you look, if you just looked at the stats for Kevin Gausman, you'd say, okay, that's a pretty, average start for Kevin Gausman, right? He goes 5 1/3 inning, gives up 7 hits, 3 runs, but he only gets 3 Ks. And that was a little bit shocking to me. But I think at the end of the day, really, he gives up. He like in the first four innings, after the Toronto Blue Jays their offense goes out there and puts up runs. Sometimes this team gets a little bit snake bitten, and those will be the games that then the pitcher goes and blows up. But it was a little bit like you could see almost like a weight lifted off Kevin Gausman in those innings. He could play around. He could pitch for more ground balls, more in-play outs. He doesn't have to try to pitch around guys or try to flirt with the strike zone. So that was really nice to see from Kevin Gausman, of being, I guess, aware of the situation that he's in, and the offense for giving him the opportunity to do that as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier to not have to pitch in high stress scenarios literally every single time you do go out. Had 5 runs of support within 3 innings. So again, Kevin Gausman able to pitch a little bit more freely. Again, kind of go after hitters a little bit more. It doesn't have to be perfect every single time. Did have the ability again to kind of be efficient and go after guys if you get a solo shot. Not going to be the end of the world when you're actually scoring runs. And again, a big third inning by this team as well. That's when the Nathan Lucas home run did happen. Ernie Clement, another good at bat, as well as in Barger, like another double. Just this guy was absolutely smacking baseballs. 3 hits, 3 doubles, all of those over 100 miles an hour. Just an unbelievable game from Addison Barger. Can't talk about that guy enough. I'm just going to quickly go over his stat line over the weekend. He was 6 for 13, only had 2 Ks, 1 walk. Obviously, had the home run that got out of there in a hurry. An absolute line drive home run. Kind of reminded me of some of the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. home runs that you do see from time to time. Yeah, 5 hits were harder than 100 miles per hour. Just a ridiculous series from Addison Barger. I'll throw in Ernie Clement here as well. Again, you're not seeing the power from Ernie Clement. You're kind of seeing, those gap wedge shots, the finding spots in the outfield, but you'll take it the same, really being able to move down the order and keep the order flowing, especially with the guys that are at the bottom of this order. But 3 runs, RBI, again, sac fly, had some nice tags, going to be a very good defensive player. Probably going to start a lot at second base, especially when you have Addison Barger hitting the way he is. Probably want to keep that guy in the lineup right now. He'll predominantly, I think, play at third base, maybe see some outfield time. Ernie Clement looks very good at that second base spot. But again, 5 runs. The Seattle Mariners trying to come back a little bit in this game. Daulton Varsho adds a sac fly, making this game 6-3. When you score 6 runs with this pitching staff, with this bullpen, you're probably going to win a lot of baseball games.
Yeah, and exactly, right? That's the biggest thing. I think you can give that bullpen, and I don't want to say a relaxed time because you still use some of your better guys, right? You still use Brendan Little, you still use Yimi Garcia, you still use Jeff Hoffman, and Hoffman comes in and is an absolute beast, dude, in that Friday game. I again didn't necessarily. I wasn't sitting down and watching that. I had it on my phone when we were out. I was watching the it parsed in the broadcast as I was trying to keep up with the Winnipeg Jets game, the whiteout party that we were at as well. And then I woke up on Saturday morning, and the first thing I did was able to turn on the Jays in 30, which thank God for that. And you just see Jeff Hoffman go out there and absolutely shred the Seattle Mariners lineup, which was an absolute joy to see after some of the question marks I think have been around him as of late.
Yeah, just really had like one blow up start. They had a little bit of trouble in the one before that, but it's Jeff Hoffman.
Yeah.
Then the ERA kind of inflated a little bit, but we've seen how dominant he was early on the season. Really, every single appearance other than 2. So not surprising at all to see Jeff Hoffman dominates in the second game as well. As we'll jump into that. But we'll start with Rowdy Tellez. This guy in Bowden Francis is just pretty much, it's a gimme home run if he's going against Bowden Francis. Homered off from in the first series that Bowden pitched as well. But speaking of Bowden Francis, nice bounce back start. You'll love to see it from the guy. Gives you 6 2/3 innings, gives up 3 runs. Kind of early on, you get down 3-0. Maybe you're a little bit worried with Bowden, but kind of redials in. One bad thing about Bowden Francis is that you see him kind of give up 1 run. It seems like the wheels start to fall off a little bit, but obviously gets back in, redials into the game, gives the Blue Jays a pretty good effort. Bowden Francis' biggest problem is that he gives up a million long balls, has 12 home runs given up, which is the most in the MLB. When it's solo shots, it's not the worst thing. Again, when you can prevent runners from getting on base and you give up a solo shot from time to time, Jose Berrios does that from time to time as well. It doesn't necessarily hurt him. Again, if you're going to, redial in and, again, pitch to your ability, and that's what we saw from Bowden Francis in this game. Just a nice bounce back start after a couple of blowups in these most previous starts from Francis.
Yeah, and I put out the TikTok reel short, and I had to talk about Mason Fluharty because an absolute gem from him. He has been a joy to watch. I think he's actually, if you look at wins and losses, which again, it's a pitcher stat that doesn't really whatever. But he is 3-0 on the season. So it's a good stat to have, an ERA, a sub-2 ERA. I think a guy that just sort of, you ask for a guy that's going to be a little bit of a diamond in the rough when you talk about bullpens. That is exactly what we've gotten so far with Mason Fluharty. He was, I believe, righties are 0-27 now against Mason Fluharty. So I don't know how you could complain about that.
Yeah, you're throwing this guy predominantly against lefties. Obviously, you have to work some righties in. There's more righties than lefties, but he's been unbelievable against right-handed pitchers. And this always takes me back to how in the hell was this guy not on the team opening day? Again, that didn't take too long to get him on this team, but just didn't make a lot of sense, especially when you had just the potential that Mason Fluharty does have. Only has those 2 pitches, but they're working very effectively. This guy has been ridiculous. John Schneider seems like he'll throw him in any scenario. It doesn't matter, high leverage, low leverage, against their best guys, against their worst guys. When Mason Flaherty, is as dominant as he has been early on in the season, seeming like that players just can't figure him out. Has a pretty decent sample size at this point. Again, right-handed hitters still don't have a hit against this guy. So it's been a very nice surprise, especially with some of the injuries with Erik Swanson not being here and obviously Nick Sandlin on the IL as well. Nice surprise to have that lefty that we were kind of worried about going into the season, which who was going to pitch in high level situations, whether it's Brendan Little, Mason Flaherty. I think we're pretty good right now off that left side.
Yeah, you are very comfortable. Yeah, it's actually insane that was one of our biggest concerns going from this offseason. So yeah, unbelievable there. And again, the Blue Jays, Jeff Hoffman, I think earns that would have been save number 9 for him on the season. So great to see. You just want to see him stack those numbers up and continue to buzz. And this is the game that Bo Bichette homered early as well. Nice to see Bo Bichette getting some of the power going. That is something I've been really looking forward to, is to see Bo really explode. And I guess didn't have the best game on Sunday, but I think that Saturday game was pretty electric from Bo Bichette.
Yeah, you had that backside home run from Bo, obviously scoring Miles Straw, kind of getting the Blue Jays back in the game after being down 3-0. Some good at bats from Bo Bichette. You saw a couple doubles in the series, saw a couple home runs. That's the biggest thing we've seen lacking from Bo Bichette, is kind of that power, getting that OPS back over 700. That's what you want to see from Bo Bichette. When we talk about Bo Bichette, if he's like the traditional leadoff hitter, I guess you're okay with it. But we know that Bo Bichette has more potential than just that average leadoff hitter, hitting singles, getting on base. That's what you want, especially with Vladimir and normally Santander behind you. But with Bo Bichette and how good he can be with, especially in a contract here, I think he's going to want more of those home runs. I always say, but with Bo Bichette, with his approach, with that kind of style at the plate, should just accidentally hit 15 to 20 home runs. And I think we're starting to see those home runs and that power kind of come back with Bo Bichette. Addison Barger obviously having a nice single into right field, I believe it was, in the 8th inning. Just again, another clutch at bat by Addison Barger to put this team ahead. And then I think it was Miles Straw you had in that 8th inning as well. Yes, for sure it was, with that single into right field, scoring 2 more runs, giving that cushion in the 8th inning. Again, don't really see this team adding runs late in ball games a whole lot. And that is something that we did see multiple times in this series against the Mariners.
Yeah, and that's what you need, right? And I think one big part, what this game 2 sort of really introduced back to me, I guess, is the fact that we don't see this team come from behind very often. Usually, if this team gets down, you can pretty much throw it away, right? Throw the towel in, they're done. This was a good fight back from a bigger well, not a huge deficit, but a bigger deficit, and to fight your way back, claw your way back, and get the win. This is a fantastic win for the Toronto Blue Jays, especially because it was a game that probably early on in the game, you maybe didn't think they were going to pull this one out. And then they get the job done. Unbelievable from the team. Carter, I think we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk game 3. Is there anything left from game 2 that we sort of missed, didn't cover for you?
No, that's pretty much it. Just Jeff Hoffman going out again. Punchy, punchy, punchy. Absolutely love to see that from Jeff Hoffman. And then going into game 3, obviously giving Jeff Hoffman a break. We'll talk about that after this short break. Today's episode is sponsored by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you, unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no-shells variety. I was in a golf tournament with a few of my buddies this weekend, 6-man scramble. We ended up winning that tournament on a count back. We went 9 under. Pretty tough course in Pinawa, but one thing that was keeping me full, keeping me satiated throughout the day was Wonderful Pistachios, especially when you have the golf glove on, when, again, you just want a convenient snack on that course. Kept me dialed in, kept me hitting some pretty good drives, actually. So Wonderful Pistachios, big credit to that. For, just kind of keeping me dialed in on my golf round. Another nice thing about Wonderful Pistachios is that they are a complete protein, and they provide all 9 essential amino acids. Get cracking and get snacking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. That's wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
So, Carter, talking about game 3, I will give you since you brought it up, hat tips. Congrats on winning that tournament. That was big for the boys showing out there in Pinawa. I'm hoping to get out, do some golfing on Tuesday. I know, I got Tuesday off this week. Crazy thing to say, I know. But I'm hoping to get out. I don't know with who yet. I might go by myself. I might just rock a solo round, see if I can go low. Is, instead of Carter chirping me in my backswing, I'll be able to shoot well. We'll see. But Carter, let's get into game 3. And I wish I would have downloaded the picture of Eric Lauer, because I put it on the TikTok and I just left it on the screen for a bit and said, "This is the guy that beat you. Eric Lauer is the guy that beat you." Oh, I was pretty pumped up. Good for him getting the win. Just a guy that you didn't really know what you were going to get from him. I think we were a little bit worried when it came to Eric Lauer and how he was going to fit in here. But he got in there, did the job. So congrats to him on his first win there.
Yeah, he was actually ridiculously good. When I looked at this lineup, you didn't see Varsho and you didn't see Santander. Barger at the 3 spot, I know he had a very good series, but up to that point, like kind of a punt lineup a little bit. Jose Urena as, again, in the game. You got Eric Lauer coming into the game. If you saw that against the Seattle Mariners pitching staff, I know Bryce Miller hasn't had the greatest year, but again, still is normally a pretty good pitcher. The walk rate he's kind of been struggling with up to this point, so that hasn't really been helping him out too much. But yeah, Jose Urena goes in, has a very good 2-inning stretch. Kind of surprised they took him out early. Just obviously gives up a home run to Dylan Moore. They kept him in for that at bat because Dylan Moore just rakes off left-handed pitching. Then you have Eric Lauer in. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm going to necessarily feel about this, but you look like Randy Johnson all of a sudden from the left side. He's absolutely ridiculous out there. 4 innings pitched, no earned runs given up. I believe it was only 1 hit as well. Like he threw the curveball on the block so many different times to Tavares. Was one of the pitches on the back end of the strike zone, just backside curveball. Absolutely disgusting. He was not very happy about that whatsoever. But just, a very unexpected performance from Eric Lauer, a guy that I'm not very high on. But honestly, with Max Scherzer being out, other than, these couple blow-up starts by Easton Lucas, you have some of these starters and openers that have been pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays. And honestly, it hasn't been too bad with all things considered and some of the names that they've been throwing out there on the day-to-day.
Yeah, I mean, you just go through the list, right? And it looks pretty solid for this team. Besides, yes, a couple blowups. You gotta think about that too. But this game, I mean, there's not a lot to that. This is just an absolute tire pump day, right? This is hey boys, who wants a hit? Get out there and go help the average out. That's almost what it seemed like. It was sort of wild. Bryce Miller, yeah. He gives up 8 hits, 7 runs, only gets 3 Ks, 2 walks, 5 innings pitched. I mean, it got to a point where it was like, all right, who are we throwing out here? They got the pitcher or the fielder as a pitcher game. That was awesome to see. You could see Tyler Heineman, I think, had a hit off of him. I think George Springer grounded into a double play off of him, so not great there from George. But you see Yariel go out there and pitch an inning and a third, getting two punchies. Fisher goes out and he gives up 1 hit, but gets through the inning. I think tire pump day is honestly just what it is. That's what it ended up being. Congrats to the boys on it with a little bit of a banged up Toronto Blue Jays roster. They got the job done.
Yeah, Eric Lauer, 4 2/3. Jose Urena, 2 innings pitched. Yariel Rodriguez, 1 1/3. Braden Fisher, 1 inning. You would have told me that those 4 guys are going to combine for only 1 run. I am taking that every day of the week. Only 4 hits as well. Guys, again, you're not necessarily relying on this kind of stuff from them, and they produce at a very high level. And then the Blue Jays scored 9 runs for the first time this season. Just an absolute hit parade. The only one not getting a hit today is Bichette, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So, very good days from a lot of the players on this team. Johnson Clase, backside double. Absolutely love to see that. I think first RBIs of the season for him. Ernie Clement, obviously 3-hit day. Nathan Lucas, 3-hit day. George Springer pimps a home run. Love to see that. Addison Barger, liner out of the stadium on a frozen rope. Just a very good at-bat from everyone, really, in this lineup. What a fun day. What a fun series that the Toronto Blue Jays did have against the Seattle Mariners. First time sweeping them at T-Mobile since 1991. So that just doesn't happen against the Seattle Mariners, especially the way they've been playing this season. Like I said, 9 straight series wins in a row. But then the big bad Blue Jays, come into town and then end that streak for the Seattle Mariners. Again, very early look at the standings, but still kind of hanging around right back at 500, only 3 games back at the New York Yankees. Have an off day. Then they play the Tampa Bay Rays, who, again, you definitely do not like the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm a little bit higher on them, not very high whatsoever. Don't think they're a playoff team. So I think that is a series that we're going to have to take advantage of. But obviously, we will cover that in more depth for the Monday episode. But who would have thought, like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how likely did you think going into this series that the Toronto Blue Jays would sweep the Seattle Mariners and sweep them by scoring 1 million runs in every single game?
Yeah, not at all, to be honest with you. I would have given that like a 4% chance of happening. So, yeah, congrats to this team. I mean, again, I think there was a lot of doubt going into this, especially being 3 games back of 500. You're thinking, oh, is this where the slide starts to happen? Is this where they start to lose ground? What's going to happen? And now they're on a 4-game winning streak at 500, going up against the Tampa Bay Rays, which again we'll get more into, but winnable series here. And I think they need it. And this is the time where you put the pedal to the metal here and try to push, try to get back into give yourself some breathing room as you move into the middle of the season. Again, who knows if what's going to happen with Anthony Santander and Alejandro Kirk? When will they be back? Max Scherzer's been facing batters again, which is actually looking good from the sounds of it. So again, I don't think he's ramped back up yet, but he is facing some live hitting, so that is a good thing. When will we see him? Who knows? Will we see him again? I don't know. He could be in the moon right now. I don't know. But he did. I also want to bring it up because I don't think I talked about it when he was up in the stands. Did we talk about when he was up in the broadcast booth with Dan and Buck? Yeah, okay. That was a blast. I actually went back and rewatched that because Max Scherzer is such a character. But we'll talk about him maybe a little bit more tomorrow. We are going to do the mailbag as that happens. So, again, if you guys want to get in any last-minute comments, make sure you drop them down below in the comment section on the YouTube page or hit us up on Twitter or Instagram. We'll read them out on the show tomorrow. Plus, we're going to do the classic off-day segment, the hot or not. Who's hot, who's not for the Toronto Blue Jays, who's doing well, who isn't. We'll break it all down, go into some more statistical stuff, and we'll tee up the series coming tomorrow. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Carter, before we kick out of here, anything left from you?
Yeah, I got a couple things, actually. Just some roster moves. Andrus Gimenez has been placed on the IL, 10-day IL with the right quad strain. Michael Stefanik was a guy that was selected to the MLB roster. Dylan Tate DFA'd. I don't think anyone's going to be too upset about that. But I do have to address the elephant in the room. We're still here. 7-0, my fantasy team coming back from a massive deficit. Did not think that was going to happen whatsoever. We're continuing the cruise. 7-0 somehow. Coming back from, I think, like a 70-point deficit from early on in the week. So I just wanted to ask, how do you feel about that? You pretty excited?
Have a good night, everybody.